2 of The Soul of Travel. And today I'm really excited to welcome Maria Pacheco from Guatemala to be speaking with us today. And to start off the conversation, Maria, I'm just going to have you give people a little idea of who you are, tell them about Wakami, and how a little bit about how that got started.
Great. Well, thank you, Christine. Hello, everybody. It's so nice to be able to connect people from other parts of the world, even though we can't really travel these days. I'm Maria Pacheco. I'm the founder of Wakami. I'm a Guatemalan, but has always been inspired. I've been able to live in the U.S. in different periods. I did high school in Kansas. I came back to Guatemala. I got a master's at Cornell, then came back to Guatemala. So this back and forth, I always say that it's made me the person who I am, because I feel Guatemala is my passion, is where I feel I can create the most change. But I get a lot of my inspiration from the U.S., from people in the U.S., from communities in the U.S., and from U.S. leaders. So we decided to start Wakami after I returned from the U.S. from my master's. And Wakami really starts in a moment like this, in the middle of a crisis. There was a famine in Guatemala, scarcity of food. Guatemala went through a 30-year internal conflict, the war, where millions of people fled. And after the war, actually more people started dying because of hunger and poverty than the war. And, for me, going to communities as a biologist, I was like, I want to restore the rivers and the trees and the lakes. But meeting the people in those communities, especially the women, they would say, Maria, what we really need is a source of income. If you help us market what we do, the rest we can do. So that kind of shifted my environment first to people first, because once they said, if we can take care of ourselves, then we can take care of people. So we decided, what do we do? Sell their stuff. So initially, we were selling anything that communities were making, until we said there's got to be a better way. So around 2006, with my business partner, Keta, we said, we started with the dream of, why don't we create a brand that is a highway to people in the world, that inspires people that buy our products, but many rural women can produce for them. And that's how Wakami got started. And we're saying, if we want to really work with rural women, we want to do handmade products, like, shirts with natural dye, so handmade ceramic, or bracelets, things that they can make that inspire people, that have a story, that are fashionable, but are also made in the villages. And that's how Wakami started 16 years ago. We work with 20 rural villages, and we export to around 18 different countries.
Great. I've been wearing nonstop my trust bracelet right now. Such a good reminder. It ties me to my connection with Wakami and to Guatemala and to the women I met there, and just every day, just to trust that, to keep moving forward and knowing that the right path is going to appear. And so I just wanted to let people know that that's one example of what you create. And a little background that might be fun for our listeners. When I set out to start Lotus Sojourns, I just had I have always wanted to create a travel program. I didn't really know what shape it was going to take. And as I traveled, I had found myself continually connecting with artisan groups. And that was some of the most powerful moments for me, being in rural communities and villages and connecting with the people and having really powerful conversations. And then also being able to witness the culture of a community through the art. I thought that was just a very unique and powerful experience. And then also to bring those handicrafts home as a reminder and a continued connection. And so then I also started to pull in this element for really wanting to connect women with other women and be able to create a way to amplify the impact of what other nonprofits and organizations were already doing. And I remember being at a Threads conference where we actually met 2 years ago, and I just was barely starting this dream out the door. And I was so excited to meet you, and we instantly had a great connection, and I think we could see where our visions aligned. And I really love how tourism can shine a light on some of this work, and it can create those connections. And when you travel and you meet people and you share space with them in this way, it really just changes what you think about that country or the experiences that you had. And I wish I had it nearby me, but when I was just in Guatemala with you, it was such a great surprise and this powerful symbol when we went to Amalia's house and she was teaching us to embroider, which was also in itself such an experience because they were so full of optimism that we were going to be able to embroider these 2 projects because they were so easy for them. And we set out and we had like this much done in the time that they were sure we would have completed these 2 entire projects. So it was very humbling to see that the level of work that went into that by experiencing it ourselves. And I think maybe for them to have the experience, I don't know where these notifications are coming from, but to have the experience too, to see that really they're doing something really difficult. Maybe they didn't know how difficult what it was because it's very easy for them. Sometimes I think we need to see that through somebody else's eyes. And then just beyond that, that conversation and that whole day spent with her was such a gift. And the woman that I brought with me on the Sojourn, that's her constant reconnection point to Guatemala, was in that moment and seeing what she was doing for herself, her family, and her community. It is her check-in. And she always says, you know, if she is succeeding in that way, in that situation with that many barriers, I can certainly look past anything that I'm coming up against. So I love that conversation too. And traveling and being in that space with you and everybody along the way was just so powerful. I just wonder for you, when you had started to bring travelers to Wakami to connect them with the women, what did you see was the benefit for the travelers and for the artisans that you're working with? What did you see it coming forth from that experience?
Yeah, I think that, well, first I want to say just that, you know, the idea of these connections, and I cannot be here and not talk about Threads and Kara and Angela, that, you know, their dream was also to bring us together. But yes, I think for us, when we started with the traveling program, and we started with that because people were requesting, saying, you know, we want to really see what's behind those bracelets. We want to meet the communities. So at the beginning, we really thought that, like the people coming here, they wanted to come and they wanted to help and they wanted to be part of this. And that's how we started. But as we've done this for 4 or 5 years, what we really love is that really both the travelers and the people in the villages get inspired and get transformed. And that was, so it's like a whole circle, you know, it's no longer about somebody helps somebody else, but it's when people connect, like you say, how we all are transformed in the process. So I think for the rural women here, for the villages, when you come in a place like Guatemala, sometimes women can be invisible, especially the rural women. So for, you know, for a whole village to see that there's a big bus and there's 10, 20 people coming down, visiting them, for the women, it's like, oh my God, thank you for seeing us. Thank you for acknowledging us. They feel like they're part of something bigger. But I think also for the travelers, like you were saying, Guatemala puts perspective, you know, like you say, you know, if we feel it that it's hard, even in Guate City or in the US, you go to these villages where there's nothing. I mean, and these women have had very little education. And in spite of that, they don't give up. They're strong, they're resilient. I think for all of us to see that, it's like, okay, like just like what you said, we cannot give up. But also, I think these trips bring in how collaboration between different parts of the world really changes everybody. So yeah, I'm passionate. I say when I retire, I want to be a guide for these travel trips because it's what happens in people, the transformation is what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, I think that natural transformation and travel, that's what my whole company is founded on. And it is. It's really hard to explain, and I do my best to try. And I think the best way is through telling stories. And when we ended our sojourn in Guatemala, and we did our why circle, which kind of followed our dream, and then we had also had a moment where we were connecting to purpose with the Mayan shaman. So it was kind of this full, beautiful journey. And then we sat and we were talking about our why and how we can stay connected to our dreams. And we all sat in the circle and we were drawing our why. And there was a woman that had just started with Wakami. I think it was maybe her second or third day or second week. And I think when she walked in a little late to the circle, and she sat down and we were starting this exercise, and I don't know that she had done it before. And I could tell she was nervous and her energy was a little unsure of who we were. And then we all started doing this exercise and getting up and sharing our why. And for me, I was just like, I could see her whole life shift in that moment. That I feel like maybe when her energy, when she walked through this door, was, I'm sorry I was late. This is so important. I really want to be here, to, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I had found. And this is like, she saw sisterhood and belonging and purpose and possibility. And I felt like I watched her win the lottery of the world. Like, her whole presence changed when she saw what was really coming together in that circle. And then I saw her walking down the street 2 days later. And when our eyes met, it was, I know you, I see you, I'm so glad you're here, we are sisters. Like, just from that small moment that we had in that circle. And then the other thing that was so powerful to me is that as we got up to share our whys, I was second to last, and then Magdalena, I think, went right after me. And almost verbatim, our whys were the same, with what we wanted for women and community and culture, and for women to have a voice and not get lost in the system. And like, I could see when I was sharing, she was getting emotional, but I didn't know yet what she was going to share. And then as she began to spoke, really, we could have switched pages. And I thought that moment was so powerful in seeing, and the same with the dream circle, that it's the same. It just is the same. And it gives you that opportunity to be connected as members of humanity, and just see each other, and really respect who each other is as a person, and not with all the other elements of who they are, where they are, what their life might be. It's just pure and true. And that was such a gift. And I can't wait to share that with as many people as possible. But when you have seen that process happening over and over, what's something that you've taken away out of those moments?
Yeah, first, I think that what you were saying, and especially with women, but it's really with people, we feel we're so different, right? And when we're all there sharing from within our dreams, our whys, our fears, it's not so different. It's just the stages that are different. You know, being in the US is very different than being in rural Guatemala. But what I love is you see the essence of humanity coming out, and the power of connection. And like you say, I think for the women here in Guatemala, even, you know, they see me or they see you guys, they think, oh, they're women from the US, they went to school, they're educated, life is so easy for them. They have no idea that the struggle is everywhere, and the conflict, and the, you know, all that happens inside. So I think for the women here, and the thing about poverty sometimes for rural women is that they're isolated in their kitchen. So when you're isolated, you think that everything is your fault, or, you know, but for them to be able to get into your minds and your dreams and your fears, it's like, oh my, you know, for them it's like, it doesn't only happen to me, you know, and that's like a big shift. But one of the things I really love, and it happened in one of these trips as well that I saw, is that, you know, when we get up and everybody shares their story, their dream, people get emotional. And one of the travelers, you know, a big woman, really beautiful woman, got up and she was shaking. She couldn't share it. And so Magdalena, this indigenous woman, this Ixchil woman, gets up and holds her back. And then, you know, the Wakami traveler can start. She gets strength and she shares the dream. You know, and at the end I tell Magdalena, I say, Magdalena, why did you get up and do that? And she said, Maria, she's a widow. she was in the war. I've been so alone, and I would know what it means that somebody's holding your back. So I wanted her to feel that. And I'm like, oh my God, so much strength coming from such a vulnerable woman that we had met, 5-6 years ago. So that's, I think, that the power of those connections. We've also had people from the US, coming with a big burden in their hearts. Like one of them had come to Guatemala. His wife had died in a car accident, and it'd been a few years, and he was sharing in his dream workshop how one day he'd love to meet somebody again and start their life. 3-4 years later, he comes back with a girlfriend, and we're doing this circle of light where at the end of the travel, we all hold hands and just say what's happened. And we see him, shaking and sweating, and all of a sudden Chris kneels down, gets out a dream bracelet, and proposes to his girlfriend in the middle of it.
Oh my goodness.
So we've seen changes in everybody. And somebody like Magdalena, this Ixchil woman, with the war and everything, she doesn't speak hardly any Spanish, she speaks Ixchil. I remember her, always looking down, and now, for her, within 3-4 years of these interactions, of having a market, of sharing with people like you, she's like this, it's like she's blossomed. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we all blossom when we connect with others at the soul level, I think.
Yeah, I could definitely sense that in my travels where I've been in other communities where they haven't had that opportunity, in how we could connect and share space, and how the women held space. Like they were definitely, I could feel so proud and confident and honored to be sharing with us. And that was a gift to be able to see that as well, and to really see what a program like this can create. And let's see, the another thing that I would love to touch on, and this is kind of where this interview series came from for me, was thinking about the passion of people in this industry, and really seeing right now, like I had this moment of when I thought that this might be the end of tourism, like this might be when tourism dies. And then I was thinking of all these people I know all around the world who really their soul's purpose is to show the world to one another, and to share these connections, and to share the people of the world with each other. Like they can't not do that. And that passion and that driving force is what will get them through this time and allow them to become who they will be in this next phase of tourism and being explorers and members of the global community. And I just wonder, for you, I definitely know that you're very committed to your work. And can you share a little bit about kind of it's your soul of travel and your soul of sharing the world, what it's like what keeps you driven when it might seem endless, or there's challenges that you're facing? Like, what do you tap into to keep moving forward?
I think for me, it's really the dream. And my dream has always been to live. It sounds simple and almost childish, but to live in a place where people are happy and the earth is happy. So that's my dream. But in a place like Guatemala, you realize that. And for me, that I decided to start where I also, so even though, we're heading towards a dream, there is a really harsh reality for me that I saw in my country after coming from the US, both in refugee camps, seeing children die in their mother's arms because they, in the health center, had no medicine, or in another community where a woman had $5 from her work. That was the whole week's earning. And she had to choose between trying to save a child that was sick and take him to the hospital, or feed the other 7 children. So for me, like I say, I think for me, it's my passion, or my why, is between 2 points, starting with the most vulnerable people in my country, but then heading towards a dream where we're all citizens of the world and we're all connected. So that's my journey. And to be honest, like I see, even though right now it's really hard, it's hard for the women, it's hard for us, it's hard for you, it's hard for everybody. But it's really, for me, these days have been about what is the most important thing? What is this all about? And I'm realizing, like we're saying, travel is a beautiful tool for connection. But now that we can't do that, what other tools do we have for this meaningful connection? So that's why I'm really happy to be doing this with you today. And I was just one day thinking maybe I can travel to a village and, you know, we share, or we can be in a dream circle or a circle of light, connected like this in the meantime. So I think these times require for you to go back to what your why. And my why is really, I believe we can build a better world, and that it's together and it's collaborating how we're going to do it. So I'm saying, okay, maybe my forms changed a little bit, and I'm not the most technological person. If there's somebody that loves like to hold people, to hold the earth, to plant a tree, that's me. So now I'm like, okay, you mean there's another way? But I think we're finding that, and things might be hard, but I also feel like these times are making us go back to basics and to value, you know, what's close to us, to value the earth. You know, maybe all of our businesses have suffered, but you know, the environment is doing much better these days. So I think this also says, okay, you know, we're on this vision, but how can we really adapt it to make it much better, to be better after we come out of this, to do better travels for us that we produce handmade products, to be more, to use really sustainable materials, to, yeah, so it really brings us back to what's at the core, what's at the heart of our purpose, and finding new ways to let that happen once again.
I love that. I love that when I have visited, and what I've learned about Wakami over the past few years, is how holistic it is. It's not necessarily just about a need for an income, creating a product, selling a product, that you offer so much more in teaching business skills, which I definitely saw being shared and implemented. And then I believe that I read recently you just started a garden, right, to help to offer more sustainability and a food source when it is difficult right now. I mean, I know some of the places that I went, there wouldn't be a way you'd be getting to a store or a market right now. And so that's going to be really important, and to return to earth. And I've even thought about that with myself. And I think I've seen that across the board. Everybody is learning to bake again and to cook again and to get their hands in the dirt again. And so I do think that's another one of those beautiful gifts out of this time. But that, I guess, ties into the next question. Beyond like the other programs that Wakami offers, education and scholarships for children of the artisans, some of the food growing, nutrition, and then you are also B Corp and Fair Trade certified. Can you talk to me a little bit about what some of those components mean to both consumers and travelers engaging with the community, and for the artisans and the people you work with?
Yes, I think, you know, like I didn't wake up one day and said, I want a business. I woke up one day and said, I want to change reality and make and contribute to building a better world. And, you know, I was thinking it was going to be through being an environmentalist and, you know, doing this stuff. But once the women requested, you know, we need sources of income, I realized that starting a business was a tool. It has never been an end for me. And, you know, now, you know, the Wakami system has the social business, which looks for market, but also the Wakami Foundation, which does the training, the education, the scholarships. But so you know, I always said, like, I want to start a business, but a business that does things differently, a business that values the ancestral, a business that recovers ecosystems, a business that incorporates people that are outside prosperity chains, that are outside of business or value chains, that allows them to come in. And I always thought a business like that is a business that can change the world. And that was our philosophy when we started. I mean, I started working in communities like 1993, right? This concept wasn't even, it wasn't even there. But as time progressed, you know, I think more and more people that were isolated around the world were doing similar things. And that's when one day, you know, I hear of the B Corporation movement, and I was totally thrilled. And it is B Corporation and Fair Trade, they're both certifications, that what they do is a third party certifier that looks at your systems and your methods, and different certifications look at different things. So B Corps looks at how you engage with your community, how do you engage in your value chain towards your clients, but also towards people that are your suppliers. What do you do for the environment? What do you do for your workers? And it's not only a certification, but it's also, they show other successful people doing great things in the different areas. So Wakami's been certified B Corp for about 8 years. And we do really well in community, right? Because of the work, like what you're saying, buy from the women, but we show them how to run a business. And once they have income, how does that turn into nutrition, into education, into healthy homes? So we're really good at that. But there's other B Corps that are really good at other things. Right now, I think it's over 3,500 businesses around the world that are just each one's, saying, how do we measure not just finances, but how do we measure success in social and environmental change? And now in the US, they're even as far as changing laws so that, you can have a B corporation where it's not, the main goal is not the financial result, but it has to be all these three items. So I love that. I met the founder. As a biologist, I've been in Costa Rica in a rainforest where Quakers lived, and I love what they've done to the village. And then one day at the Aspen Institute, I meet one of the founders, Jay, and he tells me that he was a Quaker and how he started the B Corp movement. And he was like, oh my God, forget the certification, just to meet people like-minded that can inspire you. So that's the B Corp movement. It started out in the US, but now it's in many, many countries. Companies like Patagonia, like Ben & Jerry's in the US are companies that are part of this movement. And the fair trade has always been there to guarantee fair, like it says, fair wages to people that produce the products. But for us in Wakami, we want to say it's not just about being fair, it's about building together a holistic vision. But yeah, so we're happy to be part of the B Corp movement. You can look it up. One of the phrases I love about B Corp movement is the Declaration of Interdependence. I think with this coronavirus, we've learned that we're all more connected than what we thought. And B Corps acknowledge that, and acknowledge that if we work together and what I do, helps you do something better in this circular economy. So I love that. Just it acknowledges that we're all interconnected. No walls, no differences in countries, races, anything can keep us apart. It's one home, it's our planet, and we're all together. So yeah, I invite you to visit the bcorporation.org movement, and it's beautiful. You'll be inspired.
Yeah, I love that. And I love like you said, it really isn't about even the stamp or the piece of paper that says it. It's just about connecting with people who are living their life the way that you aspire to, and setting standards and goals and achieving them together that are going to enhance everybody's quality of life. And I think that's part of also why I was so drawn to Wakami and to being able to share that with people. Is I want women to be able to experience that firsthand and see what that looks like on the ground in Guatemala, and then what that looks like in their lives, and then to start those conversations, because I think that's what's the most important thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully today there's 10 or 15 people who have never heard of B Corp, and now they'll know, or they didn't really understand fair trade. And I know for me, when I traveled before, I did always buy goods from artisans, but I didn't really think about what they were getting paid, or what it looked like where they lived, what their conditions were. I just knew I was supporting them, and that was important to me, but I didn't even have the background to ask the questions to know anything else. And then I remember being in Belize, and again, looking for that craft or jewelry that I wanted to bring home as a memory for my trip. And I noticed all of the products were actually not from Belize. And I thought, how interesting. That seems really unusual. I wouldn't have expected that. And then I was thinking, well, where else is that happening? Why is that happening? So it just started that conversation in my head. And now when I do travel and I go to a market, I'm very conscious of, hopefully connecting right with the artisan who made it and asking them about it, but that it's not, that's a whole other conversation, but that just being more conscious and aware and intentional. And we were talking about this on Tuesday's conversation. I feel like intention goes a long way. If you are just setting out on your journey and your interaction and your experiences with the mindset of being open and being aware and learning and connecting, that's going to shift the exact same experience without that intention. And then I would love to hear from you. I know that you have had the opportunity to travel some and understand the power that travel has in creating those shifts and those connections in your life. Would you mind sharing an experience that you felt was really powerful or transformative, or may have influenced some of the direction that your life has gone?
I think it's the ability, as we travel, as we connect, all our social capital, if you want to call it that, really increases, and we can really build new things. For example, for us, in one of the villages, our dream was to really be able to bring technology there to the village, because the women were working, sending their children to school, but the schools had no computers, no technology. And I'm like, who's going to graduate from high school without a computer? What does that do to you? So, we started dreaming about what would it be like to have this opportunity center that we call now the Wakami Center, and where women can come and be trained in nutrition, and where travelers could come and we could engage, and where kids could come and they would have access to the best technology. And that was a dream, and that's how actually the Wakami Traveler Program started, saying, okay, so, we were able to find from a friend a piece of land. He said, Maria, you can take any land here. So he had two options. One of them was like location. So we took that one, even though a lot of water went through it and close to a river and it was messy. But so, we invited the first group of people saying, we have this dream. Would you come from the US and help us build this? And so, the first year, just laying the foundation, we started building the first module. It would be fun because first the travelers would come, and then, always in the villages is first the kids that come, and the kids would come, and they would start carrying rocks, and they would start, and after a week of doing that, oh my God, there was no longer, we were all citizens of one world. We were all connected. But also that week, instead of just, sitting under the sun, doing not much. I mean, these travelers had really created a new place for opportunity for the community. And we did that for like 3 years. So now what do we have? We have a Wakami Center where travelers will, once we are going to be able to come back, that's a Wakami Hub where we train the women. We have a nutrition unit to teach the women according to the age of their children what's the best foods. And now that we're going to be producing them in the garden, that's going to be even great. But the technology unit too, where kids come after school, and we have different training programs. In Guatemala, you can be self-employed. You can get a job really easy if you know English or if you know computer skills. So we're teaching that to the kids. And now these kids whose moms made bracelets and made handmade products to get them into school are now working for corporations, running inventories, doing different things. And it's all a traveler program. And I think it's one of my takeaways from this is we always say in Wakami, we each one have a talent, but nobody has all the talents. And so it's when you bring people together that all of those, so I had this dream of this place. I have no clue how to, I don't know, build anything. But the travelers, of course, the people in the US are great builders. My husband's from the US, and he says, we love building stuff, so they came and everybody taken on. So I think in a very physical, small space within a week of travel, you could see change. And then add on top of that what you shared about Magdalena, the women coming and feeling like, oh, I'm ashamed. And then like, my story is important. My dream is important. People care about me. It's a transformation that I'm really passionate about, when traveling happens. I kind of forgot what your question was.
That's okay. That's okay.
But yeah, and for me, for our team too, I mean, for me, the gift is we get all transformed as our team sees the transformation, and the people that travel and the communities, and to feel that we have a sense of purpose, that what we do is changing the world. We don't have to work during the day doing something and then volunteer to change the world. It's all aligned. And so it's a gift too. That's why I say I'd like to have this job when I retire, be the ambassador for this one world that exists.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so important. And I think the other thing, a lot of people get really intimidated by terms like transformation or setting out to change the world is obviously a very daunting task to consider. But I think especially, what I've seen is there's so many super small acts of kindness and connection are really what put that in motion. And so it is really accessible to anyone. And someone might come on a Sojourn or a Wakami trip and not really know what to expect, not think that they have enough to give, that they don't know how to do it. And it's those really simple interactions that do it, and everybody can do that. And I remember when I was there and I got to go to the community center, and we were going to bake crepes, and we got to open new stand mixers, which was really amazing and exciting for me. My whole time in Guatemala, I felt really connected to my grandmother, and she was a baker, and she gave everyone, when we got married, a stand mixer. And so like walking in there and seeing that was so powerful, because I knew she was with me the whole time, but to just see that, I was like, wow, that's pretty uncanny. And then to get to open that and share with the kids how to use it and how to make it, and them get to laugh at me because I didn't quite know how to pronounce like measuring cup. I was just saying the wrong thing. And we had this great experience, and for them, they probably got to have fun and eat something they don't usually get to eat, but I got to share like my whole childhood with them, and things that were so important. And so that was very powerful. And so I think that's the gift that we often, we don't even know what travel is going to give us. So
No.
that's what I'm saying. If you put all of these layers of expectation on yourself for what you can do and what you can't do, you miss the reward that is available. So I'm really grateful for these kinds of experiences and to be able to shepherd it. And like you, if for the rest of my life, I just got to be the person witnessing these experiences happen and helping to make them happen, that would just bring me great joy. And I think it's really really valuable. I honestly I don't know anything more valuable than those interactions, and they can be inexpensive, and they can be really easily obtained. We don't have to climb Machu Picchu to have transformation. We just I think Zoom calls like this can be so powerful to really see one another. And like you said before, it's just the act of seeing that really creates that awareness and that connection. So I'm really grateful for what you offered to me in that moment, and what your community offered to me in that moment.
And I think, Christine, I think you said it. I think when you do these trips, to be open, we always start the trip saying what your expectations are, and at the end, it's like, what happened during this trip. And I think it's to be open. And like you say, I think many of us dream of changing the world, but I think we've all come to realize that changing the world, like we say in Wakami, to change the world, it starts at home. Global change begins at home. And home can be seen as many different levels, but home as our home for each one of us, our self. Mm-hmm. And I think with little experiences, and you can see during the trip that different parts of the trip touch different people. And so, it doesn't matter where you are, to be open and to have no expectations, and let the moments touch you and transform you. So I think that's key for this. And not to be afraid, because I think that fear that each one of us feel, it's a collective fear, but once you share it, it starts to disappear. And once you share your dreams, those really start to grow. But and I think when we were working this, the way you look at the itinerary, just being so careful about, having spiritual experiences, but also simple things like cooking or trying to embroider something. So it's like that the trip is a whole journey between your soul and what you're seeing, and the beliefs of the people. And I remember with your trip was the only time we've done a Mayan ceremony, and really connecting. When you were talking about handcrafts, handcrafts is where I think those are packages of mysticism, of ancestral knowledge that are reflected in that. As that, for us, maybe yoga is the way to meditate. For these women, it's when they're weaving. That's when they're connected to the sacredness. So yeah, but this, based on where each one is, the trip will touch you in a different way. But what we've seen, right, Christine, is nobody comes back untouched.
Yeah.
Even we can tell people that at the beginning say, no, 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 this is not for me. I'm just going to build, like the guys are more like that. The women were more tend to, oh yeah, let's share at a different level. But there's a time for everyone to feel a connection that transforms them.
Yeah, I think, yes, it's amazing. And that shared experience is also really powerful because you might not be having that moment in that moment, but you get to witness somebody else having it, and that's powerful too. So I think traveling in a group, in a small group like that, where you really get to reflect on each other's experiences, is also really valuable.
Yeah, and I think also like Guatemala, just as a destination, I always say Guatemala has rich textures and colors. And so, like during these trips, we have a good time. We make sure the food is really good quality and really good. When we go to Lake Atitlan, it's the organic vegetable from the hotel where they bring in the salads and just the volcanoes and the lake. So there's this beauty combined with an ancestral culture of the Mayan women, but also combined with each person's souls that we find different places to celebrate. So thank you.
Thank you. I can't wait. I just really cannot wait to get back. And I cannot wait to now, that I've experienced it that richly for myself. I can't wait to give that gift to as many people as possible. So soon we will get to be back soon. The last thing I want to do is just to allow you to let us know how we can support Wakami with where they are right now, and what are the best avenues for us to be able to get involved while we can't travel. How can we connect with you, and how can we support the Wakami Foundation?
Yeah, so there's many different ways. There's, wakamiglobal.com. That's where we have the products. But also right now, thinking that it's so important these days, we also have stories that have inspired us. So there's the story of the earth, and there's the story of the Wakami dream. So we're also sharing things there that you can download to get inspired. We are running also a campaign for masks for everyone. One of the things I realized in Guatemala is, those masks disposable are really expensive, totally inaccessible to women. So Wakami, we started making masks to protect all the families, producers, and everything. And it turned out there was more demand for it. So in the US, we're currently not selling masks for the US, but people can donate masks for the villages, for the Guatemalan rural families. So that's a way to help. And also with that foundation, and we'll be sending you information. We're starting to increase the scholarship program. I think all the travelers really want to support women in their kids going to school. The travelers have done it. Threads have really supported us in that. So there's the opportunity to help women send their kids, not so much to grade school, but to junior high school and high school. That's going to be, it was tough before, but now it's going to be really, really tough with less income. Not just because of, because also the women's husbands, they have no jobs. So I think there's many ways: masks, scholarships, buying products. Those are different ways in which we can connect. And also maybe one day looking forward to another thing where we do a circle of life, like travel to a village and we connect, because at the end, those are the things that are important. But yeah, our site in the US is wakamiglobal.com. And there you can also access that foundation information. And any questions, you have my email, and I'd really love to hear from people what they think of this as well, just like what their thoughts are of this conversation and the experiences we've shared. So thank you, Christine, for asking, because keeping the women busy is one of our main challenges right now.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming here today and joining me. I always look forward to the opportunity to be able to connect with you and to share what Wakami is doing. So I think that it's a gift to me and a gift to everyone who is able to share this time with us. And and for listeners, the next episode is going to be airing on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. So I will look forward to seeing everybody again next week.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for giving us the space to connect with other people in the world.
Thank you.
For what you do. Your travels transform lives everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.